total, we have 4 methods for solving quadratic equations. The first one is factoring. Remember, factoring only works sometimes as long as it can be factored. If it is prime, it can't be factored. We cannot use factoring to solve the quadratic equation. The second method is square roots. Again, that only works sometimes. To use square roots to solve, it has to be in the form ax squared equals c. The third method is completing the square, and remember, this works always. So you may not always have pretty numbers or an easy process, but again, completing the square will always work for all quadratic functions. And lastly, the quadratic formula, again, will always work. So if you wanted to plug in your quadratic equation into the quadratic formula every time, again, it will always work. So these are the 4 methods for solving. For the next examples, we are going to solve using any method. Now I'm going to show you multiple methods to solve each of these. You can decide which ones you like best. If you want to write them all down in your notes, that's perfectly fine. And it might be helpful to see those different methods. However, if there's a method that you like best, by all means make sure that you have that one down. So for example, for part A, we have 4x squared plus 28x equals negative 49. Now notice we're going to have a trinomial if we set this equal to 0, so I want to do that first. So we're going to add 49 to both sides. So we have 4x squared plus 28x plus 49 equals 0. So the first way I want to show you is by factoring. So if we factor this, we have a trinomial, so we're going to set up our t. So 4x squared, I'm going to use 2x and 2x. For 49, I'm going to use 7 and 7. 2x times 7 is 14x. 2x times 7 is 14x. 14x and 14x gives us our 28x. So the factors are 2x plus 7 and 2x plus 7. Now from here we can just set these equal to 0. So 2x equals negative 7 and x equals negative 7 halves. So in this case we only have one solution. So again, that would be like our parabola sitting on the x-axis. So again, our solution is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So x equals negative 7 halves. The next method I'm going to show you is completing the square. Now I'm skipping over square roots because notice we have an x term here. If we have an x term, we cannot use square roots. So I'm going to move on to completing the square. So to complete the square, first of all, I need a 1 in front of our x squared term. So we're going to divide everything by 4. That's going to give me x squared plus 7x plus 49 fourths equals 0. And now again, I need to rearrange it so that I have that blank for our c. So I'm going to subtract 49 fourths. So I have x squared plus 7x plus our box equals negative 49 fourths. Again, plus our box. So to find what's inside the box, take my b value, divide that by 2, and then square it. So if I square 7 halves, 7 squared is 49, and 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 49 fourths to both sides. So then when I factor, I get x plus 7 halves equals, notice we have 0 on the right hand side. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. The square root of 0 is just 0. So if I subtract 7 halves, x equals negative 7 halves. Now again, you should notice that's the exact same solution we got when we factored, as it should be, because we're just solving using a different method. And the last method I'm going to show you is the quadratic formula. Again, the quadratic formula works for all quadratic functions. So we first need our a, b, and c values. So a is 4, b is 28, and c is 49. I plug those into my formula. X equals the opposite of b, so negative 28, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that is 28 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is 49. And all of that is over 2a, or 2 times 4. So if I simplify what's underneath the radical, we can just plug all that into your calculator. If you plug it in, you should get 0. And this is all over 8. So x equals negative 28 over 8. We can divide 28 and 8 by 4. So that will give us negative 7 over 2. And again, that should be the same answer that we got for the other 2 methods. So again, all methods will work, except for the square root will not work in this case because we have our x term. So again, you decide if you like factoring, completing the square or quadratic formula better, and that will be the method that you will choose to use. For example B, we have 3 times the quantity x plus 4 quantity squared equals negative 27. Now before we can do anything, we need to put this into standard form. In order to do that, we need to multiply it out. So we get 3 times x plus 4 times x plus 4. Because remember, x plus 4 quantity squared is x plus 4 times x plus 4. So I'm going to multiply this out. X times x is x squared. 4x and 4x is 8x. 4 times 4 is 16. And this is equal to negative 27. I'm going to distribute in my 3, so I get 3x squared plus 24x plus 48 equals negative 27. And I'm going to add 27 to both sides. So 3x squared plus 24x. If I add 27, I'm adding on 75 equals 0. So in standard form, part B is this function right here. So the first method I'm going to show you is completing the square. So remember, I need a 1 in front of my x squared, so I need to divide everything by 3. So that's going to give me x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals negative 27. So again, I need to make my boxes, so I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. So I have x squared plus 8x plus my box equals negative 25 plus the box. So then to find what's in the box, we're going to do 8 divided by 2, which is 4. 4 squared is 16. So then I get x plus 4, quantity squared, equals negative 9. So then to solve, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So I have x plus 4 equals plus or minus. Now a negative, square root of negative 9. Square root of negative number again is I. The square root of 9 is 3. So this is plus or minus 3i. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus 3i. Again, my real part comes first, so that's why I put the negative 4 in front. So my final solution is x equals negative 4 plus or minus 3i. Now again, if we think about the graph of that, if we have imaginary solutions, which we do because we have i's, that means that my parabola is not crossing the x-axis. Second method I'm going to show you is square roots. So here, if we want to get our x squared term all by itself, we need to divide by 3 on both sides. So that gives me x plus 4 quantity squared equals negative 9. Then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. I get x plus 4 equals plus or minus. Again, the square root of negative 9 is 3i. Subtract 4. And x is negative 4 plus or minus 3i. Now you might notice that these steps look very similar to completing the square, and it's a lot less work. So you may notice that solving using square roots for this one is actually going to be your fastest method. And the last method I'm going to show you is with the quadratic formula. So in this case we're looking at the standard form. So we need our A, B, and C values. A is going to be 3, B is 24, and C is 75. And if we just plug this in, we have the opposite of B, so that's negative 24, plus or minus the square root of B squared, so 24 squared, minus 4 times 3 times 75, or A times C, all over 2 times A, or 2 times 3. And again, if we simplify that, we get negative 24 plus or minus the square root of negative 324 all over 6. If we take the square root of 324, you will get 18. The square root of negative 1 is I. So we have negative 24 plus or minus 18I all over 6. And we can split this apart. So negative 24/6, which is negative 4, plus or minus 18 divided by 6 is 3, and I forgot my I there. So this is negative 4 plus or minus 3I. So again, you'll notice we got the same exact answer, just that last method of solving. Now, you may notice that 3x squared plus 24x plus 75 will not factor, so that's why I didn't show you that method. So again, all 4 methods will work. It's just a matter of determining which one is the best one to use for the problem.